Untitled podcast. My name is Zachary Allen. I'm a little, it's snowing today. I really don't have much to do today, and I was really excited about doing a podcast. And then I came down here and I was like, all right, time to do this. I had somebody that I wanted to have on, a couple people. It's not that I don't like doing the solo thing. I really like talking to people. And lately, I've been having some really good conversations with people, and I've been wanting to kind of bring them onto the podcast and extend those conversations on here, because they're not just like fun conversations to have or good conversations that we're having, but they're beneficial conversations. I truthfully believe they're beneficial conversations to listen to. But, before we get into anything today, we have a new sponsor. Today's podcast is brought to you by Nature. From the makers of some of your favorite products like birds and outside, Nature. Nature brings the outdoors to life with new features like random weather, wild animals, and fresh air. Go outside and give it a spin. Nature, coming to an open door or window near you, April of 2024. It's exciting stuff. Nature. Kind of makes me think. I have been doing a crap ton of hiking lately, and I've been loving it. So part of my goals this year were to find a new routine that supports where I'm at physically, with the limitations that I have now. I'm 33, which is not old. I'm not in any way saying that I'm old. My wife would tell you I'm old because she's a jerk. But 33. I feel old sometimes, especially dude, I've been looking in the mirror lately and the grays are getting out of hand. I don't know what I'm going to do when this starts turning gray. Like when not that the red is really much better. Like maybe I'm going to have to put a poll on this. Would I look better with a gray beard or a red beard? The red beard thing is so weird. I run into so many other guys that are brown hair, red beard, and I'm just trying to figure out what mutts we all are. Western European mutts, really. The red hair on the face is interesting, but yeah. So I've been hiking a lot. I've been getting outside and trying to hike a lot. I've been trying to get into shape and find the new limitations that I have with the back. I also found something that has been great, and I want to say thank you actually to one of my I guess kind of former clients. She crushed it. She lost like 30 something pounds in just under 4 or 5 months. So shout out to Stephanie for reminding me about meloxicam. I went to the doctor and I told him essentially what you had told me about how we had similar issues that were causing pain. And her pain was in her knee, my pain in my back. And I had been prescribed this medicine in the past for a neck injury. And it wasn't like a serious neck injury. It just, you strain your neck and you can't turn your head. But it was to the point where I literally couldn't even get out of bed or anything. It was real bad. So, and I told the doctor, don't give me anything that's got an opiate in it. I've got a problem with them. I like opiates a lot. So don't give them to me, because otherwise I'm going to keep asking for more, and it's just going to send me into this spiral of bad decisions. So they gave me meloxicam. And she started taking meloxicam for some knee pain and was having some awesome results. And another friend of mine, Mike, was having some good results with it. So I figured I'd give it a try. And let me tell you, my back is feeling incredible. It's a combination. So I'm doing the meloxicam, CBD, and Delta 9. And the THC Delta 9 stuff with the CBD is from CBDMD. They're not a sponsor of the show. There's no affiliation. I don't get a discount. I can't give you a discount. But I gave it a try. And along with the meloxicam, I've been feeling a lot less shooting pain, a lot less overall pain related to my back, because that's the thing. Even though the back is the issue, where I'm at in the injury, it's kind of that hinge point of where your lower body muscles and the glutes tie into your upper body muscles there in your lower back. So those connection points make it affects everything essentially. Hip issues affect your upper and your lower body. So just because it's the back of the hip and not the front of the hip doesn't necessarily make it any different. But all that to say, I am feeling better. It's allowed me to start lifting some weights a couple times a week. But we had some decent weather until today. Like literally, it was 65. Yesterday was pretty brutal. It was very cold and windy. It said it was only 40, but the wind was blowing. But I went out there and did 6.5 miles. Indian Camp Creek, they have this perimeter trail. It's not a whole lot of elevation change. I think you only do like 300 feet of elevation change from your lowest to your highest point overall. But it's just a lot of little ups and downs, and you can hustle on it. So you can boogie through and use it as a good exercise thing. It took me about 2 hours. I say all that to say, I am 100% convinced that the best thing that you can do for your health, and not just like the best thing you can do for your health in 2024, here we go, and some bullshit list about like, fall in love with yourself again, be kind. No, like this is a legit thing that will change your life. And it's not like you got to do it every day, but if you can make this a regular thing, and what I would say is a regular thing is no more than once every 2 weeks. It's pretty regular, over 20 times a year, 26 times a year if you're sticking to it. Hiking. Get out there and freaking hike. When I say it's good for your health, I don't just mean like it's good for your physical health. Like the sun exposure alone, the vitamin D, the circadian rhythm adjustments that you get from that. So let's actually talk about this. Let's talk about the benefits of hiking. I'm going to give you my top couple here of things that I love about hiking. So first, you get the sun. So many of us are working inside, working from home. Like, how much time are you already spending indoors as it is? Get out there. Like, when I did this, when I wrote out the sponsor, I didn't think I was going to go into a hard bit here about hiking. I honestly wrote down some notes because I wanted to talk about Jordan Peterson, which we'll get back to, because I went and saw him this last week on Valentine's Day on his new tour, and it was fantastic. I just want to share a few little insights that I learned from it, and just kind of a few things that made me go, wow, made me think a little bit. So, so hiking and nature being the sponsor, not planned necessarily, but it works. Sun exposure, you're going to get your vitamin D that you're not getting by sitting inside. All these fake lights, like this fake light that's on me from all these different directions, they're not good for you. Your eyes know the type of light that they're taking in. Your eyes are an extension of your brain, and they're programmed to take in the sunlight, and they know where we are based on the certain levels of light coming through the atmosphere. It'll like this biological clock that we have, the sun, we're closer to it and further away, longer days, shorter days. Our eyes is like our clock for our brain. It reads that sunlight, the angles that it's coming in at. Like if you were to wake up every day and look at the sunrise, you'd probably sleep great at night because you'd be up early most days. But besides that, you're getting a specific type of light exposure that is going to give you, one, we all talk about the vitamin D production, but I think the most important thing is the circadian rhythm timing, is that it really just puts your body's clock in motion and regulates that. It gives a solid regulation point for your body that it can base patterns off of. And continual sunlight exposure, fantastic. Not like out there when The UV index is through the roof, people. I'm talking about hiking here. You dress appropriate for the season that you're in, but right now, this time of year, another benefit of it, you get the cold exposure. Like, once you get going out there, your body temperature rises, your hands start getting circulation back in them, and you're good. Like when it's 40 and there's a minus 20 wind chill, so it feels like 20, and it's piercing through because you're not wearing a windbreaker, or maybe you're just wearing a light windbreaker. But like, that cold is good for your body. It's good to breathe in that cold air. It's good to put your body through stress in temperature variance. So yes, we can all work out in the nice air-conditioned gym, but working out in heat, working out in cold, it's good for you. Getting outside and doing exercise specifically is good for you. So yeah, so that's part 3. Exercise in general, going out there and hiking. Like, it's literally good for every system in your body. If you're struggling with depression and anxiety, it's going to help you. If you're struggling with mental health issues that are other than that, it's going to help you. If you're struggling with physical health issues, it's probably going to help you unless your doctor told you not to exercise. And if that is your doctor, I'm not saying he's wrong. I would just suggest getting a second opinion. I don't know any doctor. I don't know any situation other than like, hey, you just had surgery and you need to relax for a little bit. That like a doctor wouldn't be like, hey, yeah, getting out and getting some movement's good for you. But in being outside, like that's the last thing I'll talk about with hiking. Being outside in general, like, it is so good for you. There is something metaphysical about it. And I can't necessarily explain what I mean other than, without sounding a little bit like some kind of weird hippie druid person, but like, there is something metaphysical about being out there in nature. And the best way I can describe it to people is that we as humans developed without all of this foreign background noise. Our background noise was the birds, it was the animals, it was the wind, it was the sounds of the rivers flowing, the ocean crashing on the shore. It was the sound of nature, and it was beautiful. And now we have airplanes that fly over, and we have cars hitting the brrr on the side of the highway, and you hear it in your house, and you have your neighbor's dog barking and losing its damn mind all day long. We have so much noise pollution, and we're so overstimulated with noise that when you get out there, you're grounded in nature. If you get far enough out there away from the road and you can't hear anything but nature, it's the closest thing that you can get to. It's the closest thing you can get to God here on earth. That's the best way I can put it. Like, the absence of everything man-made is the presence of God here on earth. I don't even know how to follow that one up. Not because I think it was something super profound, but because now my brain is ADHD, dude. This is rough. This is why I started writing down little notes. This podcast would have been over. Just like when I was talking about the flu would have absolutely ended my family earlier this year. Over. Brain gone if I did not write down some notes. Flu ended my run. All right. I'm going to take a drink here. Now, a quick word from our sponsor. All right. So, Jordan Peterson. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. He's got a new book coming out in November, We Who Wrestle with God. The artwork that you kind of see behind me, you probably don't see it because I guarantee you that light is destroying any amount of that you would be able to see. Maybe I'll be smart enough to be able to input an image. I have an image of that on my computer. I'll just have to resize it to put it up in the thing. That is my favorite one of his rules from his last book, 12 More Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos. No, this one was Beyond Order. The first one, 12 Rules for Life, the antidote for chaos. It is do not do what you hate. And I love that rule because I think that far too often we give up what we love for other people. Like, I know that sounds bad at first listen, but let me explain. We, in an effort to not, or to be liked, to be accepted, go over the top a lot of the time when it comes to offering support to others. When a lot of the time others just need to kind of grab life by the balls and give it a try. And look, on the toxic side of that, there are the people that never ask for help. And that's, it's Yo. That's this guy. Big idiot right here. I will drown before I ask for help because I'm just not trying hard enough to swim. The worst part about going to counseling is when you start realizing your own bullshit, your own fuckery, and you're like, I hate myself, but I love myself enough to do something about it. Oh, I just spit all over my microphone. It's a good thing this one's mine. Jordan Peterson's new book comes out in November. We Who Wrestle with God. I don't know why I said that like a radio announcer, like I'm doing an ad piece. The only reason I really wanted to really make this podcast was just to talk about a few of the things that I saw in that, and then provide a little update on the health stuff here at the end. So wrote down some notes. So here's a crazy thing. Tammy, his wife, comes out. She is going to tell a quick story. She did the last time she was here. It's part of the thing. She tells a story. It's got some relevance to the tour. It's not necessarily relevant to the talk, but it generally has a lesson involved. And it's not that she's coming out there to give a lesson. She just wants to share a story about a revelation maybe she had or something that happened to her that was unique and that she's thankful for. Like, they're beautiful stories. But she's like, Jordan's going to come up. He'll lecture for about an hour, and then he'll answer some questions. So last time he came to town, he lectured for about 75 minutes, and then he answered questions. 3 questions took about 15 minutes. So we assumed he'll be on, and that'll be great. We'll get our awesome lecture, and we'll go. The dude talked for 30 minutes before he even opened up into his lecture. So we got a 30-minute freebie, which is just like him just spinning. And look, he's a very calculated person, so I don't think he spins anything without deep thought. I think this is something that he's been wrestling with probably, and he's talking it out on stage, just like, the whole We Who Wrestle with God. It's something that he's thinking about, and he's sharing his thoughts on it and how they relate to. It's like a new revelation on the old thought, and it's inspired almost in a way. So he talked for about 30 minutes. Then he actually gets into the lecture. He does this whole lecture on Genesis 1, basically the creation through the fall. And he's looking at it from like a literary perspective, but the whole thing is the first 30 minutes, he kind of talks about how he had been interpreting a lot of dreams and how in psychology you can create a pattern of sorts for interpreting dreams, for understanding meanings of dreams based on common symbols. He gave a really unique example on like fake words and how certain fake words sound like similar words, or at least closer to real words. So we almost accept them as real words. And just, I'm doing a terrible job. I'm just trying to give you the cliff notes here to get to this idea. But what essentially I understood from this is that he's looking into the symbolism of the events and the ideas in the story of the creation and fall of man, into not necessarily like the implications, but the implications or the ideas that they encapsulate. So what I mean by that is, whether you take it literally or whether you believe it to be true, literal or non-literal, or whether you believe it's complete BS, what he's saying is the idea is true. The idea that it encapsulates is true, and that truth is something to behold. Like, I'm getting the vibe that this We Who Wrestle with God book is like the equivalent of him writing the Me or I Who Wrestle with God book. Like it's his discovery of something that he is personally wrestling with. And we're all wrestling with it in one way or another. We're either walking with him and wrestling with him along the path, we're wrestling with him to get on the path, or we're just off the path and he's trying to pull us back on. Like, I know where I'm at in that, not necessarily happy about where I'm at in that. But I'm wrestling with it in my own way. But just like we're all wrestling with our individual thing, whether it be the thing that we've made God or God himself, there are similarities and there are ideas that encapsulate what it means to wrestle with that thing. And I think that that's really what this book is about. And like, not to go back to last week, but like with the whole Putin and Tucker interview, there was that idea of the Eastern and Western spirit in a way, like the pragmatic versus the, we'll call it the spiritual. We'll call it the pragmatic versus the spiritual approach to life. Like someone who is, look, we don't need to get back into it too much, but like we all have this bit of dichotomy in us, some more than others, this pragmatic us and this like fanciful, like story, Cinderella version of us in a way. And like, yeah, that's you too, guys. Like in your own way, you want to be swept up off your feet, just not necessarily by some handsome prince, but like you want to get that phone call one day where it's like, dude, I have a job offer for you. It's in Switzerland, or like some crazy phone call. Like every guy has a dream. They have that thing that they want to get swept up in. Whether it's a person that you want to sweep you up in the moment or whether you want it to be an event, it doesn't matter. We all want to be Cinderella, but we also all want to be Marcus Aurelius. We all want to be Mr. Cool, Calm, and Collected. And that's men and women alike. No woman wants to be like, yeah, I want to panic. No, they don't. No woman wants to panic under pressure. No man wants to panic under pressure. So, like, at the same time, we both want this pragmatic approach to life, but we all want this beautiful, fanciful fairy tale of a life. And we wrestle with this, and it's like that wrestle of your head and your heart, Spock and Kirk, logic and emotion, or the example that Putin used, the Eastern versus the Western mindset. But this wrestle that he's going through, that he's writing this book on, I'm thankful he's wrestling with it because I'm wrestling with it too. So it helps that I'm going to get some practical advice from someone that I trust. Based on the work that I've read, I don't get the vibe that he is doing this from a standpoint of trying to manipulate people or trying to brainwash people. He's frankly doing quite opposite for everyone. He's asking everyone to stand up and look in the mirror and, ask yourself who you are. And if you're not happy with it, what do you want to be? And then how do you get there? And it doesn't just apply to like life in general, but specific areas of your life. So look, I would just suggest give it a Google. He's going to be on tour for a little bit. I think he said he was doing like 50 something cities this year. He's not super far into the tour. I would suggest trying to get out there and just listen. And look, like him or not, believe in the Bible. I don't know where he stands on that stuff. I get asked this all the time by people who come in my house because I have some of his artwork from his books displayed, and they'll see the artwork and they'll hear the words and they seem contrary. Like the do not do what you hate. It's a picture of Lucifer falling from heaven. And like what for Christians, it's something they struggle with when they see it and they understand what it is. They think it's like a bad painting. It's the idea, and it encapsulates that you can be given everything, but if you hate it, it's not worth having. Like if you hate the position you're in, it's not worth having. And yeah, it's a pretty jacked up thing to think, like, because the implications of it, if it's all true, well, that's the thing that started this all. That's the, I'm memorializing this terrible thing or whatever, but no. It's the implication, it's the idea, it's the egg. I was working at a law firm and I didn't hate it, but I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I thought what I wanted to do is train people one-to-one. I look, this is kind of shout out to Will Marks. Will Marks, you have a way of always making me want to work harder. And what I mean by that is, like, you listen to this podcast, you raise 2 kids. You're a great man. Will Marks, you're the MVP, brother. But I say all that to say, like, you will mention something in the podcast to me. Like, I'll see you and you'll say something to me about an episode. And I'm like, damn, did I really say that? You guys got to remember, sometimes I'm just sending them. And I don't know what I'm necessarily saying. I am trying my best to be my true self, but at the same time, I'm trying to figure out who that person is. Yeah, I thought I'd have this figured out like in my 20s, but apparently it's going to take a little longer because bad decisions, but making better decisions. And look, that's kind of what's landed me in this weird position with like the exercise stuff in the first place. And I was talking to a previous guest of this podcast yesterday, and him and I were talking about pace of play. And when I like to go hard. I don't like I give people the advice not to do what I do because I don't think most people can. I don't think it's healthy for most people. I don't think it's healthy for me necessarily, which is why I'm trying to figure out that balance. But like when I was trying to do my weight loss and I lost 184 pounds in 13 months or whatever it was, I was going balls to the wall 365 days, however many days you're in 13 months. Like I took maybe 10 days off in that entire period of time. And that's 10 days where I don't go on a hike or go to the gym. So I'm still exercising by walking and doing stuff, but that just means no purposeful exercise, like maybe 10 days of that 13 months. And 60 days of it I didn't eat. For 9 months of it, I only ate once a day. And like I was very, very strict about it because I was so far off that I had the ability to do that. But like it got me thinking recently, like, is there a best way to actually go about it objectively? Not just objectively and subjectively. And we've all done the research before. Like me, preference, I like fasting and I like cutting carbs. Because those are my issues, is like random snacking, staying up late and eating. That's a problem for me. And then also I like junk food. Like I like donuts and I like chips and I like little snacky foods. So, and a lot of it's super processed, bad carbohydrates. So like when I say cutting carbs, I'm not talking about eating low carbs. I'm just talking about eating nothing that's a carbohydrate, this processed food. So if I eat carbs, it's something I pretty much got to make myself. I'm cutting up potatoes and I'm making something out of potatoes, or rice is pretty much okay because it's just rice, or, certain oats. I don't eat a lot of that, but like I'm trying to cut back on the bread and the pasta and that stuff. And then sticking to an area of time that you eat within. And look, I understand here, I'm going to make my point first. And then I will, because here's the thing. I think, I try to think on both sides of the aisle always. It's something that actually a professor in college taught me. It was in some pre-law class that I took. And he was talking about that essentially, in order to argue a case, you have to be just as good at arguing the opposite side, but at least 1 point better, essentially. Like, that's how you win, is you know all their points, but you at least have one that they don't think of, or something. Like, you have a better point, essentially. So I'm always trying to think, like, is what I'm going to say, what would someone say against it? Because I'm not here having a dialogue. I'm not here having a conversation. I can't just be like, I think that if you stopped eating processed carbs and you stuck to an eating window, it would be the best thing for you. And you exercised every day. Like, for any modern American, like, maybe not even necessarily need to exercise every day, but if you just change the way that you ate, that, like, hey, I'm no longer going to eat processed carbohydrates. So that's no sugary drinks. That's no bread. That's no chips. That's no French fries that are fried. So maybe we add that to the rule. No fried foods. And you stick to some sort of window. Like, I'm not going to eat before or after this time. And that's just to teach yourself some sort of self-regulation, that you stick to a schedule for the most part. Because I think scheduling and also what you actually eat really does matter. That you would be significantly better off. I think most Americans would be significantly better off. And I think that most Americans would be better off eating a low-carb diet, just because the quality of our carbohydrate options that aren't processed foods are garbage. So on top of that, like, I understand, and this is the rebuttal, I understand that objectively it's a calorie in, calorie out, energy ratio. So, like, are you positive or negative in your ratio? Are you eating more than you're burning, or are you burning more than you're eating? But how you get to that is subjective. And how you get to that, is there subjectively a best version for Americans, for the average person? I'm telling you, I think it is eating fairly low carb and having some sort of fasting window, whether it's 12 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours, like, somewhere in there, that you just say, hey, nothing, no matter what, water only, or black coffee or whatever, black tea, no calorie intake, and giving your body a rest, giving it a period of time, like getting sunlight, forcing your body essentially to live like it used to. It starts to regulate. Like, we've changed the way that we live a lot faster than we have changed physically as humans. We've gone from sleeping in mud huts. There are still people in this world that sleep in mud huts, and we act like everyone lives in these 2,500 square foot homes. Not necessarily like 2,500. We act like everybody lives in a home in the world here in America. We're so blind to the way that a lot of the world lives that I don't think we understand that while we do have all these creature comforts, all of these comforts make us creatures. They make us creatures of the comfort. They do not benefit us on a biological sense. And I'm not saying they're bad and we need to burn them down and get rid of them, and it's everything horrible that's going on in the world. What I'm saying is, I think that the closer we can bring ourselves to a natural state of living as humans, the better we're going to feel overall. The less technology, look, I'm sitting here making a podcast. Obviously, I love technology, but I have to have an hour or two out in the woods to make this possible. And it's not an hour or two a day, but maybe every couple days. Maybe you get up early and you get out and just go on a walk somewhere in the neighborhood, or And look, it doesn't have to be outside. It can be in a gym. I get it. We can't all be outside. My wife just flew up to Escanaba, Michigan to go see her sister. Dude, it's nowhere. It's not a real place, but she's there. It's fucking Santa's up there. Like, I don't know. Makes no sense to me that people live up there. Mallory, I'm sorry if you hear this. I'm not, and Waylon, I'm not talking shit on you guys. I'm just saying, like, it blows my mind the ability of humans' ability to survive in such distinctly different environments all over this earth, but we find a way to survive. And survival's great, but we want to live because survival's not enough anymore. Just isn't. I think most people feel that way, and I think that that's why you kind of have this sentiment, this overall malaise that there is. It's like we're all sick of it. And look, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get too far into it because look, it's hard to talk about this stuff by yourself. It's a lot easier when you're having a conversation. So these shows when I'm by myself, I'm a little bit more scripted because, dude, I'm crazy. I'm batshit crazy sometimes up there, and I will lose track of things. Like if we want, we can go back earlier and we can start talking about some other weird stuff from earlier, but we can talk about hiking again. Honestly, I have no idea how long this podcast has been, but I think it's a good place to stop it for today. Really, the big thing was I would encourage you to define what you're wrestling with. I'm trying to. It sucks. Trying to figure it all out. Well, I'm Ron Burgundy. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.